I came down from the Oklahoma border. I'm with Bridges to Life. It's a prison ministry, so I can't wait to eat Chick-fil-A one more time before I go into prison tonight. So I'm excited about that. But our organization is faith-based restorative justice and victim impact. So what we do is really minister to both sides of crime. We bring in a curriculum, a restoring peace book, and a study guide for the inmates in prison. We're in 84 of the total 100 TDCJ units, but we're in 19 states, 8 different countries. So we're pretty systemic here in the state of Texas where we got our foundation. We're even on Texas death row, which is a little bit different operationally than what we do in general population. But functionally what we do is bring in volunteers to facilitate small groups. So we break up for our 14-week program. We run our 14-week program in the spring and then again in the fall, 14 weeks. And we cover topics like accountability, responsibility, confession, repentance, forgiveness, etc. And it's all through the lens of God's Word. So it's faith-based. And so inmates that wouldn't normally be reading God's Word, we have all shapes and sizes, all walks of life, all religion or no religion inmate participants in our class. And we break up into 10 inmates to every 2 volunteers. In most units, we have about a class size of about 80 inmates coming in one time per week for 14 weeks for 2 hours. And each small group breaks up, of course, having 80 inmates. We have about 16 volunteers per unit, both men's and women's. The geographically proximate ones to you guys are Gatesville. There's a lot of ladies units in Gatesville. There's an O'Daniel unit a little bit closer to Temple. So Meredith is my regional coordinator, and I'll get you her contact information too. But that's kind of the brass tacks of it. If you're a victim of crime, I would encourage you to connect with her or myself because we bring in victim speakers to share their side of how crime has impacted them. My sweet wife is one of our crime victim stories, and as she shares, she says every time I share my story, I heal a little bit more inside. So very dualistic. This Bridges to Life thing is very dualistic in nature. The inmates that are the participants in our program have 5 graduation requirements. I'm not going to review all of them, but they have to do some heavy lifting, like sharing their story too in their small group, all the way from early childhood through crime of incarceration. They also identify a victim of their crime and write an apology letter asking for forgiveness. That's not till week 10, pretty deep into the 14-week program. They don't send it. We don't want to re-victimize anybody, but they read it in their small group. They have to identify a family member that's hurting as a result of them being incarcerated, ask for forgiveness via letter and read that out as well in their small groups. So some heavy lifting, life transformative stuff, all of course through the lens of God's Word. So they have homework in the study guide, as you can imagine. They have pen to paper. I know homework isn't a word anybody wants to hear these days, but they have a quote of the week, words of the week, questions pertaining to God's Word, pertaining to the Restoring Peace chapter, and pertaining to their own life experience, and then a personal journal at the end. Very restorative justice in nature. Our founder got us started as restorative justice before restorative justice was even a thing. We've graduated 90,000 graduates at this point. We're going to have probably 97,000 graduates by the end of this year. So huge impact in men's, women's, juvenile programs, and drug rehab clinics and homeless shelters. So Salvation Army Adult Rehabilitation Clinics have our program. It's a 12-week program instead of the 14. We talk about invisible chains, as you can imagine, not victims of our crime, but victims of our addiction. And so kind of a little bit of a pivot, but that's kind of what that looks like. Bridges to Life is also in Spanish too, so if you have any Spanish speakers, we have it translated to Spanish as well. I don't want to bore you with the nerdery, but we do want to make a quantifiable difference. And so the metric of success that most prison systems use is recidivism. So that's the return to prison, as you've probably heard. In our great state and in other states across the United States, we're on average about 40 to 60% recidivism, depending on the state, depending on the year. Harris County in Houston, Dallas County up north of us is about 80% recidivism. Revolving door, as y'all well know, it's revolving door crime. People get out for paying their debt to society or whatever that looks like, and then they go back, commit new crimes. Our founder, his sister was murdered. He wants new violent crime numbers down too. But Bridges to Life graduates, 90,000 now deep, 90,000 graduates, men, women, and juveniles. We're at 11.1% recidivism. That's those states reporting our graduates' numbers back to us. So we don't track our own recidivism. That's the states that are doing a much better job than we would have been able to do independently. But 11.1% recidivism rate. So something changes between here and here if the community is just willing to come in and facilitate those conversations. And so that's what's happening with Bridges to Life. As I mentioned, our founder's sister was brutally murdered in Houston, so that's kind of the heartbeat, the birthplace of Bridges to Life. Welcome. And we, so he cares about new violent crime recidivism. So Bridges to Life's new violent crime recidivism rate is 1.9%. So less than 2% of our graduates are getting out and committing new violent crime. So something quantifiable is happening, and it's obviously God's word, not returning void. But the conversations that volunteers allow as they sit in these small groups weekly is making a difference. I did, and y'all may have questions, and I want to kick it over. I don't want to hog up a ton of time, but the parole board in states, in DOCs, Departments of Corrections, recognize the transformation that our volunteers and sacrifice of love inside prisons are making. And so we are one of the few TDCJ, they're called ITPs, individual treatment programs. So it just basically looks good on their parole. So when the guys have our class under their belt, once they graduate, they get a certificate, get a picture of their small group with their volunteers there, and they're able to, it reflects positively on their parole review. So that kind of a pat on the back when somebody says, man, a faith-based organization, even in in other states where I don't know how to say this the best probably, but some states are less receptive to faith-based organizations. And so when we're operating in Washington State, in California, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and those other states, those DOCs still recognize what God is doing transformatively through a 14-week program. So I welcome you if you're a victim of crime or just somebody that wants to help out and reduce recidivism to see me afterwards. And I'm sure we'll have a Q&A section, but I want to pitch it over. Thanks, guys.
Okay, I want to apologize. I thought on my clock it said we start at 10:30, so that's kind of why I got us rolling. But it was supposed to be 10:40, and it's 10:40 right now. So I apologize for that missed part of his intro. We didn't get a lot of instructions, so we got kind of started pretty early. So Joel, I did have one question that
sure,
you might go
yes, sir.
Maybe you mentioned it, and I was busy talking to Jared. But you mentioned volunteers. How do people get into your? How many volunteers do you have local and stuff like that?
Great question. So we have about 1,000 volunteers internationally right now. Here in the Gatesville, Waco metropolitan area, we have approximately 90 volunteers, and it's growing. So we just added, we just got a new, Meredith is our new regional coordinator, and so I'll connect you with her. But I have a sign-up sheet over here on the table over here, and my business cards, also some information. There's a fact sheet over here if you want to see the nerdery, if you will. If you also want to review our 14 weekly topics. Also brought a copy of our curriculum if you'd like to see the Restore and Peace book and the study guide that we use as a curriculum. The beautiful part about volunteering with Bridges to Life is you don't have to be qualified to do anything but listen. We really are a ministry of presence. So if you are a licensed professional counselor, we have those on our volunteer team, but you don't have to be a part of the Bridges to Life organization. You just have to be willing to come in, facilitate a conversation, and really, because we're restorative justice, it's really a crafted conversation to bring healing to both sides of crime. As I mentioned, I know y'all came in a little bit on time. Y'all came in on not late, on time. But it's kind of cool to see healing on both sides of crime. I mentioned to the rest of the group, my wife is a victim of crime, and so to be able to have a better marriage even because of listening, not teaching and preaching to the inmates, and there are ministries out there that do that and very effectively for their own purposes, but just because we sit in a small group and hear their side of the story too, I become a better husband, and I become a better brother, and I become a better son. So very impactful on our volunteers. You don't have to have a criminal justice major to do it. You just come in and just want to listen to somebody, and it makes a big difference. Thank you.
Brian?
I guess it's my turn now. So my name is Ryan Simpson. I am the director for Tri-Cities Ministries. We're a local nonprofit. We serve 3 small towns, Bellmead, Lacey Lakeview, and Elmont. We help people with the rental assistance, utility assistance, kind of that emergency assistance that they need, that they just happen to find themselves, whether that's short that week for work, or, they were in the hospital, or their car broke down, or whatever, put them in that situation. Our main focus is that we bridge gaps, build communities, and bring the good news of Christ. So there's that one side of us helping the residents of the Bellmead, Lacey Lakeview, Elmont areas. But there's also the other side of building the community. We try to be involved. We have 13 church partners that we work with consistently. I say that. Really about 8 of them are like fully committed with us. The others like to use us. But that's all right. That's what we're there for. And so we'll promote their events. If y'all were part of the small church big impact class yesterday, we do that. We help these small churches in those areas make a bigger impact. We help them unite with one another across denominations, which for me is a beautiful thing, because that's what my home life looks like also. I grew up Baptist. My wife grew up Church of Christ. And I worked at a Methodist church before all of this. So it's great for me because it kind of mixes everything. We have partners with the Lutheran Church, Catholic Church, Baptist, a couple Methodist churches, and it's awesome to kind of see the collaboration. It's taxing sometimes, but it's fun. I work with I went blank on what I was saying. We also work with the local school districts, with La Vega ISD as well as Conley ISD, in trying to make impacts with those students. How changes year by year, because school needs change every year. Currently, this year, we partner with La Vega through their early college and career classes. They have a group of students that pretty much just do school continually at MCC. MCC doesn't have classes on Fridays for whatever reason, so I bring in professionals on Fridays to talk to these students about stuff that they don't teach in school anymore, as well as just kind of learning from older people's mistakes and kind of showing the ropes to stuff. I've had investors come in, I've had a group of musicians come in, I've got plans for a real estate group to come in, plans for nutritional health coach to come in, just kind of helping, these different parts of life that we don't think about, that we need to know until we're in it. Conley, we have partnered with their counselors, and they are actively sending us referrals, warm referrals to kind of help with things that we don't always help with. We were blessed by getting a grant this last year, and I was able to set some of that grant money aside to be able to help with other things, not just rental assistance, utility assistance. So I've helped one couple purchase a new to them car, as well as help get the title over into their name, which was huge because he needed the car for the new job that we helped him get. Helped another lady that was escaping family domestic abuse from Houston. She had moved up here. Her tires got slashed at the cheap hotel she was staying at. We helped her get new tires. And that was just because of the referrals from the school counselors, because they knew we could help. So like I said, that changes every year what that looks like, and based on grants and funding and all the things, but we try to build community. So one other thing we do that's a big event for us in the spring is we call it Kicking It. It's a kickball event with the local fire and police departments. Traditionally, that's always been just the Lacey Lakeview departments, but this last year we were able to get Bellmead involved as well. And next year I'm hoping to rope in the volunteer fire department at Elmont as well. So it's a great event, open to the public, completely free. If you're local, follow us on Facebook. You'll see all the posts come up soon. I actually have one of my interns in here with me. Did I miss anything, Michael? Okay, I hit all the notes. Are there any questions or anything like that?
Do you have any cards? Because I work a little bit with homeless and outreach, and in fact, Paul all of us that
Yes.
do, so.
I have some cards.
I'm getting some late fees, so.
Okay, perfect. I have my business cards. It has my cell phone number on there, so don't hand those out to clients, please. But I can get you some of the client cards that we have at the office too. I just completely forgot to bring them.
And Ryan, your operation is right on the frontage road just past HEB.
Yes, so in between HEB and Walmart and Belmead, there's the big Lutheran Church, St. Paul Lutheran Church. That's where our office is located. Every Tuesday, we're open to the public for them to come in. Say that
On
again?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the same place where they do the food bank.
Yes, Shepherd's Heart, and they actually go through Fridays. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Shepherd's Heart is there doing the food bank as well. So Tuesdays, people can double up with us. Come see us, then go get in line for some food. Any other questions?
Okay, George, you're up.
Okay.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Wow, amazing ministries sitting up here. Love it. My name's George Lektash, and I'm representing Acts of Mercy International. We are a crisis response organization that is integral to the Antioch Community Church here in Waco. But our movement is nationwide. In fact, it's international. Acts of Mercy International, what do we do? So we respond to crises that are going on around the globe, and not just internationally, but domestically as well. Our mission is to go to the place of crisis, to bring the good news of the gospel, to serve practical needs, and then in that, meet people in the place where they are, sharing the gospel, sharing the good news, bringing comfort, bringing trauma care, trauma relief, medical relief, things of that nature. It looks a lot different internationally compared to domestically. We have responded to the last 3 crises that have occurred here in the United States. I was one of the first teams into Hurricane Helene in Western North Carolina back in just a year ago, in fact. A little over a year ago, at the beginning of this month, or last month. So we went to respond to the hurricane in Asheville, North Carolina, and the surrounding communities. We also responded to the California fires that occurred January of last year, and most recently to Kerr County here in Texas, down in central Texas. But internationally, we've responded to many of the crises that you've heard about, some that you haven't heard about. Acts of Mercy, just to back up a half a step, Acts of Mercy, when we go to crises, we are different from a lot of the other NGOs that go to crises. If you've been to crisis around the globe, or even here domestically, usually in the first few weeks, you'll find a lot of NGOs setting up tents, setting up encampments, serving food, providing groceries, providing practical care, practical needs, water, and assistance and things of that nature. Usually the government also comes in and they set up camp and they provide assistance. It doesn't take long before the initial impacts of the crisis begin to wane. A lot of NGOs will leave. Our ministry is different. And we're different insofar as we have 3 arms to our organization. One is practical needs and practical care, which is just, hey, meeting people, their home's just been destroyed. What do they need today? What do they need now to bring them comfort? We also have a medical arm, and we can provide medical care, whether it be surgical care, trauma, triage, or just, hey, you're injured, but you're going to be okay. You don't need to go to a hospital. We can help you with that. And trauma care, trauma healing. So that's really deep. It's broad, it's deep, but we have professionally trained people on our staff, and we train people that want to be trained by Acts of Mercy to go to places and provide this kind of care for people. I've been through it myself. I've been on the receiving end of it, and I've been on the providing end of trauma care. And it's something that really doesn't get focused on a lot in the midst of a crisis. But that's a big piece of what we are really stepping into, we've been stepping into in the last 2 or 3 years with some of the crises that have gone on around the world. And we're finding that that's kind of a missing piece that isn't being provided to places that are suffering from what's going on. So that's a big piece of what we do. Internationally, or on an international scale, we are in a lot of places that you've heard about. We're in a lot of places that you haven't heard about and don't make the news. Some things I'm able to share, some things I'm not able to share. One thing I am able to share is we all have cell phones. If you ever get text messages or you get phone calls, people trying to sell you something, people trying to tell you you're the recipient of an award, or your bank account's been hacked, or your social security number has been breached, and all you have to do is respond to them with certain information, they'll help you. Those are coming from scam centers. One of the largest places for scam centers right now is in Myanmar. Formerly, yes. So in Myanmar, southern Myanmar, near the Thai border. We have a team that is residing just across the border in northern Thailand that has been there for about the past 5 years. They've known about these scam centers. They're literally 500,000 people that have been taken into by human trafficking by these people that are running these scam centers. They're being trained and taught, basically held captive prisoners in these scam centers, and they're being forced, we call it forced criminality. So these are people that have fallen for lies, and the people that are targeted come from countries that are oppressed, countries where governments aren't very good to their people. Let's say that. So they want to escape the environment that they're living in. They're scammed. They're flown to Myanmar, and then as soon as they arrive under false pretenses, they're immediately stripped of all their personal belongings, all their identification, their passports that enabled them to get into the country. They're whisked off into the jungles, and they're indoctrinated into these scam centers. They're given multiple mobile phones. They're taught how to call and text and email and to scam people. This industry in that region of the world alone is thought to be taking in over $2 billion in illegal scamming from people all over the globe. So how do we come into the picture? We've had a team on the ground in northern Thailand that's been praying into this for years, and they've been praying for these scam centers to be not only identified, but for them to be recognized by the Myanmar government, the Thai government, and on an international basis, so that they can be dismembered and the captives can be set free. And only in the last year has that begun to happen on a scale that is continuing to increase. I'll say that. So our team directly has helped over 850 people that have been either released or escaped these scam centers. They find out about our team that's on the ground in northern Thailand. They're told, hey, there's help across the river. And literally this river is about as wide as this room. And all they have to do is get across the river, and they find aid from our team. And our team will take them in, give them immediate care, immediately begin trauma care, trauma healing, and then we start the process of collaborating with local governments and their governments, where they come from, to help get them repatriated back to their homeland. A lot of these countries do not want to pay to bring their people back home. They view them as criminals. They're not criminals. They were taken advantage of. They have been trafficked. They are victims of human trafficking. So we work to raise funds and to help our team on the ground practically get these people repatriated to their homes. So that's one little piece of what we have going on around the world. We're in other places as well. We're in Israel. We're in the Middle East. We have ties into Iran. There's a powerful move of God going on in Iran right now. Thousands of people are giving their lives to Jesus in Iran. Praise God. Praise God, this is going on. We're in Israel waiting for things to settle down. Our hope is to get into Gaza. And if you read the news, you know what's going on in the news. You know that's where the biggest need is, and probably the world's next greatest crisis is a refugee problem, a refugee crisis that maybe the world has never seen before, with 2 million people in Gaza, and it's been destroyed. So we're waiting in the wings with some of our other partners for opportunities to go there as well. Here in the U.S., it looks a little different. Our goal, our mission, as I started out with, is to bring the gospel ultimately. We don't rush in with Bibles saying, hey, we're here to help you and we want to share the gospel with you. If you listened to Bob this morning to kick off the morning, he said you don't start there, you start with relationship. You start by going and being present with people that are suffering, that are enduring harshness, oppression by their governments or by the community that they live in. And that's what we do. We go and meet people in the place where they are. We walk in relationship with them. We don't take them by the hand and pull them, and we serve them. It's about having a servant heart, and that's what we do, even domestically. Here in the U.S., it's not a lie. There's a church on every street corner, practically. Realistically, in some of the places you go, there is a church on every street corner. But people still don't, here in our own country, still don't hear the true gospel. They don't see it being walked out by people, and that's what we're called to do. As missionaries, we're all missionaries, and as a mission. So that's what Acts of Mercy does, very big picture. Happy to answer any questions you have. You can all be trained to be responders with Acts of Mercy. You can go onto our website, it's actsofmercy.com. There's a button you can click on that says get trained. As soon as you get trained, you get a nice badge, you get a t-shirt, much like this one, and you get to go. And you're automatically put into a database that notifies all trained responders of what's going on, what we're responding to, where we're going, and how to go about that. You're placed on a team, and then you're sent out. It can be anywhere from a couple days, like when the floods happened in Kerr County. We've sent 55 teams there. It's been teams of anywhere from 3 to 8 people that have come together, either from the same church or the same community or from multiple churches across the country. We team them up together and we send them for anywhere from 2 days to a week. It all depends on how long you can go and how much capacity you have to be able to go and serve the crisis that we're responding to. It's 8 hours of online self-paced training, so you don't have to go to a classroom. You don't have to go meet up with a bunch of people at a certain time. You can pace yourself through this training. Once you're done, you submit some simple paperwork. We collect that, and then we send you your stuff. You're in our database, so you're able to respond. So that's as concise as I can get for 20 years of ministry experience.
I would love to, I guess, be trained to go to Myanmar to meet this guy who sent me a text to give me. I want my reward. But first, I'm gonna give him a big hug, and then I'm gonna give him a nuggie.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Well, that was awesome. So my name is Dusty, and my wife and I founded a nonprofit that serves the homeless here in Waco. I'm gonna apologize up front. My voice is not good today. My upper respiratory have problems from my military days. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it goes. I decided to show up this morning, so I'm gonna give it my best shot. If I quit talking, you got it, Jared. We started, actually our journey with the homeless on the streets started about 12 years ago to this guy. He's the one that got us in it, and we love every minute of it. About 9 years ago, we bought a facility to try to meet the homeless where they are, to start relationships on the streets, love them, help them with whatever their needs are. Not necessarily the stuff that you have to do in the system, but whatever it is, we don't really care. Help the guy today work on getting a passport. He's trying to get to Mexico to go see his dad, who owns a big ranch down there. His dad's not allowed to come to the U.S., so we'll get him a passport and help him get a bus ticket. It's a 10-hour drive from the border, and this is not nice to say, but I hope I never see him again. I hope he lives happily ever after. But it's things like that helping him out. So our focus group is the people that sleep outside, so chronic unsheltered. And usually that's all it takes to get into our place. If you have a camp that I know about and you're a reasonably decent person, you can come in and we'll do what we can to help. We got showers, laundry, bathroom, Wi-Fi is their favorite thing. We serve a meal a day. Today we had king rent chicken with all the fixings. Our belief, so when we started the ministry, I did 7 days on the street myself, and I just went dressed just like this. Well, actually I had jeans on, had my phone to record stuff with, and my Texas ID, and that's it. And for 7 days, just figure out how to live, be around people, what goes on at night, where it's safe, where it's not safe, how do I charge my phone, how do I take a bath, how do I eat. I did not want to get into the homeless system, so I avoided Salvation Army. That would have been a slam dunk for food, but I just figured it out. And one of the things I realized is there's not a lot of good food on the streets. There's a lot of food, but healthy, hearty, home-cooked meals like Paul and Lee do, that's the homeless don't get that very often. So we decided that's all we're going to do. So that's why we do what we do. And our folks don't really care about breakfast, lunch, dinner. They just want food. So we start at 8 in the morning. We go till 12. And I don't even remember what we're having tomorrow because I was supposed to cook it too and I forgot. It's always a good meal, a good solid meal. We help them with all their social services to get whatever they need. We require them to have a Texas ID to come in, but they don't have to have it on them. They don't, let me restate all that. We help them get it. None of them have it when they come to us. Probably the fastest I can get any of them an ID is 3 months. That's with all the steps we have to go through, and that's with us tracking everything, us paying for everything, us taking them everywhere they need to get to. Not an easy process. And without an ID, obviously you can't get a job. But a lot of them need it for a simple scrapping metal or go and get plasma. So we help them. After they've had their ID, if they're not moving forward with ending their situation, then we require them to enroll in the Waco Family Medicine, sign up for indigent health care, and get a physical from a doctor. Those are the things that help them start feeling more like being back in the world that we're in and beginning of the end of their homelessness. Right now our number is about 20 different people a day, different faces. Today we did 14 right before I left to come over here. Last month we did 63 different faces. Our success rate is 40%, sorry. 40% is a really high success rate on getting people off the street. But we work with everybody that is anybody that doing anything for the homeless. It's a big team effort. Mission Waco is a big part of it. Salvation Army, behavioral health. We work with Waco PD to end homelessness. So what we do is my wife and I sit down on January 1st and we look over the list of all the people we saw that year and figure out where they were at that point in time and decide where they were. And 40% has been about the last 3 years. So some huge numbers for ending homelessness just by somebody caring enough about them to know when their birthday is and what their favorite birthday food is. So, and I would tell you that most of the people that come in our front door don't even know it's their birthday until we tell them. So, I tell you a little God story about just when, if any of you are interested in getting into something similar to this. When I retired from the military, my wife was my dependent, bless you, the whole time, and she doesn't like the term dependent. It sounds kind of derogatory. So I told her when I retired that she could now do what she wanted to do, and I would become her dependent. And guess what? She went and met Jared, and that's how it so that's kind of that's what got us going into the mission. It's been great. We thought we were going to change the homeless when we went on the streets, and it turned around and it changed us, changed our hearts. God has a way of working on that with you. Our biggest challenge, there's a couple of challenges I want to tell you. I know I'm taking a little bit of your time,
Please keep going.
Our HUD, our government, Housing and Urban Development, will tell you the 3 leading causes of homelessness is substance use, criminal background, and mental health. 100% wrong. It is, they came from bad families. They grew up with they lost their home, they didn't have parents, they were couch surfing when they were going to school, dad in jail, mom in jail, dad criminal, mom criminal, whatever. That's about 100% of the people that we deal with every day. That led to the substance use problem they have, the mental health they have, and the criminal background. But so when you're trying to deal with those issues, that and I'm not bashing HUD, I'm just saying the realities. When you're trying to deal with those issues that HUD puts us all the money into, really just putting a Band-Aid on the problem. Really want to help end homelessness in this country. It starts in the schools, and that's where we need to focus our energy, in my opinion. We need to love on the kids and hug a teacher when you can and just lift them up. So anyway, that's the hanger. I think when we get done with Jared introducing his mission, then we'll just open up to anything you have. So if you can start thinking about your questions so that we can answer them for you.
Yeah.
There you go, brother.
And I'll be here to help moderate some of that and have some questions for you guys to help.
Oh, Jimmy planted questions?
No, he didn't give y'all any directions. He didn't give y'all any directions, and, because we gotta go with it.
Yeah.
So we'll keep y'all moving.
Okay.
Great. Well, wonderful. My name is Jared Clark, and I get to represent Mission Waco Mission World. How many of you are from, or maybe not from Waco, actually? Just a couple of you. Maybe, actually, most of you probably know Mission Waco Mission World. So I'll try to do a high view, but I'll start with telling a little bit about the story and how it came to be. So about 48 years ago, co-founders Jimmy and Janet Doral decided to move into the North Waco neighborhood because they felt like it was a place that God wanted them to be. So it was a calling for sure. They had no clue what they were doing other than they knew they needed to love their neighbor. So they began with kind of Bible clubs, children's programs, meeting their neighbors, women's groups, that kind of stuff. There was really no model for them to know how or what to do other than to know that they were supposed to be incarnational. I think we referenced Bob's conversation this morning. That was the only thing that they knew how to do. They eventually took a trip around the world to learn about kind of programs around the globe, took a 747 jet around the globe. In their process, they went to Russia, they went to India, and they visited and rubbed elbows with Mother Teresa, and got to learn what it meant to see people and see the divine in them. They came back to Waco, and from there it kind of just started popping up. They'd visit with somebody who had a drug addiction, and they would say, okay, we need treatment centers for our family members who are struggling with addiction. Christian Missions Concerns came around and said, we've got money to help you start this nonprofit. So they started with a little carpet building around the corner from their house and renovated that, and that became their hub. And then eventually, somebody said, you know what, we have this beautiful rundown store that was like a beautiful place back in the heyday. It was a grocery store, it was a pharmacy, it was a theater. But after the war, people moved out. They went to West Waco, and what moved in was slumlords and all that goes with that. So really, in about 1992, the organization came to be known as Mission Waco, and from there they started with those backyard Bible clubs, and then from that grew a need for this thing called Manna House, which was a substance abuse program. And it was all kind of just, kind of grassroots, trying to figure out what is the need of they were listening, what is the need of our community, what do we need? They built a basketball court next to their house, and they had neighborhood children come and play. And then from there, it started to go into like GED, the need for education and job training. And then in 2000, they acquired that property, that beautiful property that was all run down, and they gutted it and actually got it earlier than that and started working on it. But about 2000, it came into existence. Now it's the Jubilee Center. Now has, if you've been in the neighborhood, you'll see a grocery store, economic development center, the main center for Mission Waco, which has a restaurant, a theater, 200, 300 seat theater, a youth and children's program. So throughout this time in the 2000s, it grew broad and wide. It has children's and youth programs and adult programs. It's very broad and vast, and it has economics. It has a restaurant, like I said, the economic center. What they never thought they were going to get themselves into was the business of working with those experiencing homelessness. That only happened through the relationships of the people that they because they went to the interstate under the underpass, and they said to the people that were staying there, "Hey, teach us what it means to be homeless." And so from that came a church, and it was about in 1999 that they had to separate the two because they were under one roof, and so they said, "You'll be your church under the bridge, and we'll be Mission Waco, Mission World over here." Separation church and state. But it was through those experiences that they said, you know what, our friends are dying on the streets. They are burning up in abandoned buildings, and we can't have this happen any longer. So the work that I get to do, that I came around in early 2000s, was working with helping to help develop the Meyer Center for Urban Ministries. That started in 2005, but right before that, in 2004, the shelter opened up. Everything was supposed to happen at the Meyer Center. It was supposed to be a one-stop shop with the homeless shelter under that roof. But of course, what happened was people, and I've done this too probably in my neighborhood, if somebody said, I'm going to build a homeless shelter in this neighborhood, there was a lot of concern. People said, not in my backyard. So we had to kind of find a location that was within 700 feet of our location, which was a radiator shop down the road, which makes it very difficult to move our people from every day from up and down the street, from getting the case management services and all the wraparound services at the one center to get them back down to the shelter for the night. we've been doing that for about 20 years now. We've seen about 7,500 people that have come through the shelter unduplicated. They've at least slept one night in the shelter. It's about 200,000 beds slept in over that time. We have a very similar success rate, about somewhere between 38-40%, somewhere in there. But our recidivism rate, those people that come back, is unfortunately about somewhere around like 35%. So like we have like maybe a 5% like net positive rate of getting somebody up out of this experience. It's not a great success if you look at those. However, the reason why is because we have a challenge of a lack of affordable housing, which is the problem across the country, right? That's everybody's problem. So another audacious move of the organization is what they're doing right now, this thing called Creekside Village. Actually, Dusty helped us set the stage for that, and he did an excellent job of starting that whole project. And so we are in that 3 months away from moving people into their, it's going to be a great transition from this one day where I was experiencing homelessness, going to bed and waking up the next day, and I will then no longer be homeless. That will only be for 35 people, because there will only be 35 units in this first phase. But the goal is to get that up to 300 units down the line once we can do enough fundraising. But it's a huge undertaking that I think a nonprofit probably shouldn't do without the help of maybe a government or somebody to step in and do that really role, because it's really a larger issue. But when you have a problem, the church then can say, where can we step in? Where can we be the solution to our own problem? Yeah. And so I think that's what we've done. We said, well, we're going to kind of put our money where our mouth is and say, okay, we don't want to wait on you, government, or some other entity to come in and do this. We will go ahead and try to do this ourselves. But that's where we are right now. It's 33 years since the inception, and it's been a lot of programs, a lot of people, a lot of transformation. But I will accept any kind of question you have that you may or may not.
How many past the 35 are they expecting to build?
Well,
And
when will that happen? After the 35? It'll be probably a couple of years before they can do the fundraising. The whole total project is $35 million, and I think it's been like somewhere between 14 million already fundraising for this first phase, which was all of the work that Dusty did was to lay the groundwork, getting all the utilities in and out, getting all the pads put in. And
how does
so,
the person get on that list?
so great question. So in middle of October, they'll start doing the application. So that'll be coming out here in the next couple of weeks, where people will do the kind of the Google form to get on that list to be seen as a potential applicant. By middle November, December, they will have selected those first 35. And then January 1, start rolling out those, moving people in probably in groups of 5 for the next so many weeks of that first of the year to get everybody established in that community. But it's going to be quite complicated because, yeah, you're dealing with some of the population that Dusty's talking about is they've been undomesticated, and we've got to kind of transition them and get them to be re-domesticated, which can be very difficult without that proper wraparound services that he's talking about. So it's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be a beautiful journey. I hope that you will all join us in that, because we have a lot of fundraising to do yet to get to the end of that goal. But I think it's going to be a wonderful addition to our community and all these programs that we're working together to impact our city. Something to note about our community that's different from others, we have a 24.8 poverty rate. It's come down 6 percentage points since 2014. That's good news, but that's twice the national average. So this is the challenge that we all have right here locally. Yeah, it's all of us working together. It's every member of the body working together to address the poverty in our community.
So have you been to Community First in Austin?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Have you
so-
been there?
Yes, I
Oh,
have.
good.
Before, yes.
Yes.
It was amazing.
It is beautiful.
So my question is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because when I went, I did not know what I was visiting. It wasn't till after curfew when my friend and I were walking around and there were crickets everywhere. We were like, what is going on?
Yes.
So it wasn't after. So I feel like they have like a car repair shop on site and a store and all. Are we going to
Yes.
be doing things like that?
Well, actually, Dustin can probably speak to that a little bit more, but I know that they've closed their shop temporarily at Community First, their car shop. But I think the goal is to have that kind of stuff on site, right? Kind of a mechanic shop, if you
There'll
would.
be a maintenance building there for mechanic shops. They don't use it very much anymore, especially with the state inspection law
Mhm.
changing. But minor maintenance, they'll be doing it out of the shop there. They'll have several other flavors of work-related things for folks to do. Most of the maintenance will be done on-site, yard maintenance and facility maintenance, and just whatever entrepreneurial type efforts that they can come up with, that the neighbors, the people that live there want to do, they'll be doing that also.
I'm gonna ask a question for each of you. As we sit here, members of the community, y'all all have amazing things. And I'm like, man, I could go serve here, 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 and here. But we also know we can't go and serve well in all of your different places. So my question for you is there a volunteer piece that is probably like a great volunteer or time commitment that is the best? So if we're thinking through which one, what are my gifts and skills that are your best volunteers or time commitments that would be most usable for you guys?
I'll start. So like I mentioned, I'm only open to the public on Tuesdays. During the school year, I partner with Baylor and have interns come in. So they take a huge, heavy weight off of my volunteers. But during school breaks, I'm down to slim pickings with my volunteers to be able to serve the public. The flip side of that same coin, though, is I need you to be trained during the school year so you're ready to go during the school breaks. I would say it probably takes 2 or 3 visits to be fully trained. And it's really just 1 day a week, and I always feed you. So I try to take good care of my volunteers. Like I said, I have church partners. They come in every Tuesday and feed us, which is great. So it's coming in and telling me, one, you want to volunteer, you know, fill out some paperwork for me so I can put you in the system, basically. And then commit to a few Tuesdays for me to come in, get trained. The biggest taxing thing for me is computers. You got to know how to document stuff on a computer. I can show you how to do that, but you got to be comfortable with doing that also. And then it's the same thing as it's listening, knowing how to kind of guide a conversation to figure out the need. And then being able to either say, yeah, we can help, or we can't help, but here's some other people that can. And then that's it. Being willing to commit a Tuesday to us, multiple Tuesdays. I have some volunteers that say, hey, I can come every first Tuesday, or I can come every fourth Tuesday. That's fine, because it's consistent, it's regular. I can keep up with that pretty easily. I have others that are there faithfully every Tuesday for me. So it's kind of, I'm flexible on that. I just need to know that you're going to stick around and especially be available during school breaks, because that's the hard part.
We have most of our programs, our prison programs are in the evening time on weekdays. That's the best time to volunteer, we found. So we don't do programs kind of on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. We try to hold them kind of most of the units, and each unit has its own volunteer group that goes in, its own separate group. And so we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday options. And they're usually, I'm about to go into one at 3 o'clock. There's a mid-afternoon one out at Gatesville. But most of the prison opportunities are about 6 to 6:30 is when we start, and then kind of a 2-hour window. So most of our classes are kind of 6 to 8 p.m. Back in your car, that kind of thing. There is kind of a pre-prison pat down, that kind of thing. If you're comfortable going through airport style security, then you'll be comfortable coming into a prison. We do, if I can reference Bob's statement, we do go in through the front door, and I'm guaranteeing I'll get you back out the front door. I can promise that.
Not leaving me behind, thank goodness.
That's right. That's right. You mentioned training too, which brings up, there's two kind of fold training. It takes about 2 hours to learn how to facilitate our curriculum. So you'll be working with Meredith, the person I'm sitting in for. She lives here in the Waco area, but she will go over kind of your curriculum training, how to facilitate our program, the 14 weekly topics and that kind of thing that I floated around earlier. So Bridges to Life training is pretty simple, and the TDCJ application and training is all online now, which is pretty convenient. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour. It's kind of continuing education class, click through, learn all the scary stuff, what to do in a prison riot stuff, if that doesn't scare you. It's a worst case scenario, but it's all online, so there's no real a lot of folks will even ask, man, maybe I have a criminal history. Maybe that'll prevent me from coming. It doesn't. We have our graduates on staff with us and our graduates that volunteer with us. You don't have to even be a Bridge to Life graduate. If you have spent time incarcerated, you bring a amazing facilitation perspective to what we're trying to accomplish in restorative justice. So we have victims of crime, ex-offenders, and people that just want to give back. So almost anybody will. There's a large retirement community that a lot of retirees want to do it, but we also partner with Truett Seminary, SMU, DBU, Tarleton. A lot of college kids want to come in. As a matter of fact, it's pretty transformative to career trajectory, really. You kind of go into college, what do I even want to major in, much less what I want to do with the rest of my life. But when you sit in a small group and hear stories from both sides of crime, it's pretty transformative. So anybody, as long, and a variety of different options for weekday service.
Yep, for us, for Acts of Mercy, 8 hours online training. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what skill set you have. As long as you've got $65 to pay for the training, which is really cheap for everything we give you and everything we equip you with, then it's up to you after that. There's no obligation to deploy with Acts of Mercy. Or you can deploy as many times as you want. If you're retired, or you're independently wealthy, or you've got job flexibility where you can go anytime you want, or you've got just flexibility like that, time is the one thing to deploy with us. So get the training, and if you have time, you can go. Short testimony in 2022 when the war started in Ukraine. My heritage is Eastern European. I've got Polish and Russian, a lot of it in me. And the war started and I was overcome. The Lord brought me to the end of myself when the war started. It was inexplicable. I knew nothing about this ministry that I now work for. I was in the corporate world. And it set me, talk about trajectory in life, it set me on a brand new trajectory in my life. Ultimately, it led to me resigning from my corporate job at the end of 2023, and I did a 6-month sabbatical under the advisement of somebody I was walking in discipleship with. And towards the end of that sabbatical, Kevin Johnson, executive director for Acts of Mercy, came to me and said, "Hey, we just created a job that you definitely qualify for." He said, he almost sheepishly looked at me and said, "You're so overqualified for this, but I think you'd be a good fit. Like, we need somebody with your talents. And here I am now, a year and a half later, resigned from my corporate career, and I'm going around the world, like, bringing the gospel, serving people, meeting people in their greatest time of need. Incidentally, when all this happened, when the war started, 3 months later, I found myself with Kevin Johnson in Lviv, Ukraine. And then this past summer, July, the second half of July, I went back to Ukraine. We managed to get all the way to Kyiv, and all this is with intention. So we spent the night in Kyiv before we went and served a kids camp 2 hours south of Kyiv. And the night we spent in Kyiv, there was a drone and missile attack on Kyiv. We were awakened 2 o'clock in the morning. We could hear drones flying overhead. We could hear missiles striking Kyiv, downtown Kyiv. We could hear the anti-missile fire. And we laid in bed knowing that the covering of God was on us. There was absolute peace and calm in the house. All 6 of us were there. I was on a team, all Americans. And we all, when it ended, we all fell back to sleep. We slept the rest of the night, went to the kids' camp, made it back home. So I'm saying all this to deliver this message. If you have a heart for people, you're willing to pay to get trained, and you're willing to go, whether it be internationally or domestically, I'd encourage you to just go. Just take the first step, get trained, and see where the Lord takes you, because He may take you to places you never dreamed were possible. This guy sitting next to me is a testimony to that as well.
Well, thank you for that, George. To volunteer with us, usually once we make the initial contact, we ask people to either read the book When Helping Hurts, or there's a 5-part small group study online that you can go through that just kind of sets your heart in the right place for serving people in a way that complements what we're trying to do. And then we bring people in for a one-day orientation just to kind of see how we do what we do and what we're all about. And then the third step is the most difficult. We ask the homeless what they think about them. And they really just do this. And some people just aren't cut out to be around the homeless. And we're very protective of our homeless friends, and we don't want people around that will shut them down. It's a lot of work to build a relationship, and it doesn't take very much at all to lose it. So it's a tough call that we live in, and there's a lot of good people out there that want to help. They're probably better off just donating money, for lack of better words. Hate to say it that way, but that's really what volunteering with us is all about.
There are a lot of different ways to get involved in Mission Waco, because it does cover a lot of the life spectrum, from children to youth to adults. So it depends on which kind of age group you'd like to work with. There's after-school programs for youth and children. And with the adults, best way to help in that regard is something with either chapel at My Brother's Keeper or within the Empowerment Job Training Program, where we need people to walk alongside people with skill set to create accountability and action plans. But the chapel service happens every single night of the year. It's available to groups and individuals to come in. Now there is a process to do that, to get vetted, going online first of all through the volunteer portal to get approved to be a volunteer. There's, I think it's, I don't know if it's $10 or $20 now, $10 for background check, etc. But once you're vetted, you go through an online portal app for tracking your volunteer opportunities with the children or the youth or the adults. But there's lots of opportunity to engage our beautiful, wonderful community that you've heard from all of us here today. So it's a great question.
And lots more on the horizon with Creekside coming along.
Yeah.
Yes. So lots of to come.
And I think Dusty kind of hit on it. you've got to find your right fit. So as we are all figuring out what does it look like, or if we're in ministry and we're trying to help our churches figure out, it's always about finding the right person for the right seat on the bus. And so if I can't take off of work on Tuesdays,
Yes.
I don't really need to help his, but maybe there's a ministry where I can, that it fits my time, but also fits my gifts and my passions. And I think what I love hearing you guys, and you've alluded to, which is also my last question for y'all, is when you find this place to serve, your heart is changed. Dusty will tell you he would never thought he was going to end up there. George just told you he'd quit corporate world and head there. But my question for you guys is, when you've said yes to serving and you find that spot, what happened? What changed? What advice would you give for someone trying to decide where to serve or how to say yes?
I got started when my wife introduced me to prison ministry, and she invited me when I was still trapped in my drug and alcoholism, and I absolutely said no every time she invited me. And she didn't nag, but she just patiently invited me to do something different with my day than Whataburger and Jack Daniels. And I said no for a lot of those times. But then the first time I went in, and it was out in Gatesville, the Hughes unit actually. So we have men's and women's units in y'all's geography. So regardless of the population you want to serve, we can make that happen. But I went in and I started having those conversations with those guys, and I was like, holy cow, these guys are in like concrete and razor wire, but I have invisible chains and concrete I'm trapped in right now. They are just like me. And I of course pointed my wife to our Lord and Savior back in Romania, actually, when I was dating her. But she started getting hungry to serve, and I watched the transformation in her when she started serving, when she started pouring out. Something interesting, because as I was dating her, I was so trapped in my selfishness. I was all about serving me every single moment of every single day, and I was so miserable with me as the center point. And then I was getting mad at her because she was kicking me off the throne of her heart and putting on somebody on that throne that would never leave or forsake her. And she became such a beautiful person. So I say all that to say, serving other people, not me serving other people, but watching somebody else serve other people, and the transformation that it made in their life made me hungry to get on board with that. And so I did the same thing. I worked in the corporate world, very successful for a really long time, but I left all that when I felt God calling us to do something different. And so that was pretty transformative for me. But I think watching other people, especially my own wife, transform, then you take a step into prison and you start watching the transformation, and you start wondering why these inmates even are coming back in to serve. And that's a whole nother level for me. I don't understand, still don't understand. And then watching as God's opening my eyes to the prison guards that work in some of the darkest places in the world, and watching the inmates now interacting with the prison guards and our volunteers interacting, and now realizing a whole unintended ministry that's happening when prison guards are walking up to my volunteers saying, I know y'all are just those weirdos that like to hang out in prison, man. I'm going through something, and I don't know where to go with this. I'm going through something, and I can't show any cracks in here, but I can to you. Can you help me with this? Can you pray with me? And so now my volunteers, their eyes are being open to that transformation too, and instead of just kind of laser locking in on those incarcerated individuals. There's a huge ministry there, obviously, and that's what we do, but the victims that are being healed, the staff that are being healed, pastors coming alongside your local church pastors. Oftentimes your pastors, you've got some ministry opportunities happening out there, and some outreach and some inreach that's happening, but a lot of pastors are uncomfortable with, what do we do if you're a victim of crime? You got a victim of crime that is in your church base. I don't know how to handle that. And so we become a resource for church pastors to see hope and healing happen too. And some people aren't ready for that. Some people are, you lose we have a sweet lady in Dallas. I'll just give an anecdotal story real quickly. So he was already involved in our ministry, and she was not. Their son was murdered at a Walgreens. He stepped in, he saw some violence happening, and he was killed, their son. And she got mad at him after that to say, how could you still go in to prison after what happened to our son? She was a mad mama, and she should have been. She lost her son. Somebody violently took her son. But as we walked with him, he did kind of the reverse of my wife, just constantly, patiently inviting her to the table. And she said, yeah, okay, I'd like to share my story, angrily at first. And that was okay. She could share her story angrily as a victim of crime. Not condemning the listening audience, but just an angry mom that just wanted to vent. And that was totally fine. We're one of the few places in the world, I think, that she would have had that open opportunity to heal. And now she gets the chance to share much more healed now as a result of kind of our ministry coming alongside of her. So, great question.
Yeah. Well, so my wife and I have 4 kids. None of them are following Jesus. So stepping into this ministry work, I guess I would piggyback on what Joel said. Like, it begins to transform your life and the lives that are connected to you. Not just your immediate family, but friends, colleagues, and others, people that you engage with, the way you encounter other people, the way you engage with other people. I find myself, I go to HEB, I go to a restaurant, I go to a coffee shop. This was not me 3 years ago. I'm bringing love. I mean, that's what Jesus was. Jesus was love. Like, he was asked, what's the greatest commandment? We all know the answer to that. Like, we're called to love other people as Jesus loved us. And it's just life transforming. Even this morning, 6:30, our youngest daughter called me, and which is very unusual because she doesn't get out of bed until 7:30 in the morning, and answered the phone. And the short story is a young lady, so my daughter's 30 years old, she'll be 30 in January, and she had been friends with this group of girls she'd been friends with since they were in grade school, early grade school. One of the girls that kind of came out of relationship over the last few years was a victim of murder-suicide, her and her husband, in Wisconsin yesterday. And my daughter was at the end of herself. And so where I am in my walk with the Lord, and trauma training that I've received through my ministry enabled me to meet my daughter in this place of great hurt and pain that she was experiencing this morning. And that's a place I would have run from 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I would have used my worldview, which was different 3 or 4 years ago, to walk my way, talk my way through that conversation with my daughter. But this morning I was able to meet her in the place of her pain and her. I knew this girl, we'd been on vacation together. I was able to meet her in this place and minister to her. Y'all, when you're walking with the Lord in the things that you do, things change. Every situation changes. So it changes you. It changes you.
For me, it's my kid. I grew up in a broken family, and thank God for my grandmother taking me to church and all the things. But I always
There's
knew
a lot of
I'd
us that
be.
thank God for grandma.
Yeah. So I knew I wanted to be different for my kid, and being an adult, out of college, going through work and trying to figure out my way in ministry and what that would look like and all the things. I wasn't sure how my home life would look because my example I had at home growing up was rough. But I met my wonderful wife, and now we have a 2.5-year-old. And I started to realize we're not doing much other than just attending church on Sundays. Like, how is my kid going to grow up and be an actual productive part of society, not just be thrown into the school system and the pipeline and all the things, and have that worldview cast on him. I don't want him to be just like that. It was probably 3 weeks after I started this job. We had a bunch of turkeys donated to us to help out. And my kid didn't have daycare that week. He was up helping me. At that point, he was almost to, he was, a month or a year and like 10 months, 9 months. And he got so excited for these frozen birds that were just delivered. And I was like, come on, dude, we're going to go take these out to the parking lot to meet a couple people and then out to Shepherd's Heart. And seeing him just so excited to be able to push the cart and being able to say, here you go, like in his little broken toddler English, that's when it hit me like, oh, this is it. This is what serving with family looks like. This is how the heart changes. So I think that answers your question.
So for us, boy, I hope I can make this make sense, but God has actually blessed us immeasurably. We don't do any fundraising in our nonprofit, and we've been paying our bills every month for 9 years. No debt. It's been on autopilot, and it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary because we sometimes put ourselves in what we want to do and not God. So it's a wake up call for us. I think the most transforming thing for us is that we have become a voice for the homeless that is not popular with a lot of people. And it doesn't bother me. It used to. But when you're speaking for them and saying the things that they need somebody to hear, that's God working through you. I'll tell you today, this is probably going to shock some people, but the people I serve don't need housing. People I serve don't need a job. They need treatment for meth. It is what's holding them all back right now. It is the demon we're fighting, and we're losing. I wish our government would take all the money they put into HUD for housing and move it over to Health and Human Services and put it into rehab. And so we focus on that. That's our core, and we're going to address it, and we're going to talk to them about it. We're going to educate them on how the fentanyl's getting in it, what the difference is that they can expect, and that's so. It's being the bad person in a good way. It's for them. It's all for them. I drug one of my friends, a good friend, out of our facility on Friday by his neck. And it was funny because he had a pitcher of iced coffee in his hand, and it got dumped on us, and we're both slippery and slimy, and he's totally naked and does not know it, and he is tripping, and he is violent and yelling, and I put my hands on him, which I don't like to touch any of them, but we do it as brothers would do if you were growing up with brothers, and drug him outside into the middle of the carport, and the PD came and took 11 police officers to get him into a wrap and on a gurney and away to crisis treatment. Have to be willing to do that. Monday, the first thing I do is go find out where his camp is so I can take him some food and start I'll use that as leverage to help him get into the treatment he needs. But anyway, that's kind of what, I don't like being the bad guy. Nobody does, but it's...
But you've loved him enough to walk through that with him.
God put us there for a reason. So.
Ask the question again.
The transformation from you saying yes to serving.
So yes, well, that I guess put the trajectory course of my life to say yes to, I guess you call it full-time ministry as a missionary, because a lot of us don't see ourselves as missionaries, but we are all missionaries, right? Wherever we are, You are at the ends of the earth, wherever you are, whatever you do. Later in my life, through my wife's experience in her education, I learned that this thing called theology of work, that out of the 7 days of the week, one day, 1 hour of the week, we go to the church house and we worship together. But the 6 days, the rest of the week, we are out in the community, in our jobs. We are the light. And I have learned that, fortunately, I get paid to do this type of thing as a paid missionary, if you will, to do the work that I do. I'm not necessarily a volunteer per se, but I did volunteer to go that route in my life, and it's stuck, and I get paid to do that work. But you are the hands and feet. We are the hands and feet. So in your work that you do, whatever you do, wherever you are, whether it was corporate, I heard from some of you, if you were the food industry and you were the cook, you are the best dadgum burger flipper that you can be, but you do everything unto the Lord, as working for the Lord, is the bottom line here. So I think as volunteers, whatever we do, if we will serve as we are serving Jesus, right? As we are building homes or whatever we're doing, we are building that home, we are fixing that car as if we were doing it for the Master. And I think that will be the thing that will transform each of us. But that's, for me, it's been a lifelong course of doing this work to say yes when I got called all those years ago to be a social worker. So, yeah.
Thank you guys for sharing. What questions do y'all have for them?
You got 2 minutes.
I'll say.
Each of us get 2 seconds to answer.
What time do you serve your meal?
8 to 12.
You just 8 to 12, they just.
8
come
o'clock,
and
the
go?
lasagna opens up, they come in, they start eating and eat all the way till,
Because we start at 1:30, 2 o'clock. She comes from Abbott, we come from Riesel, so sometimes it just don't happen at 1:30. But I was just curious, so we're not.
yeah, some of them will actually have just left our facility with the big belly full of whatever stick-to-your-rib food we had that day and go straight over to you and eat another meal.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm hungry.
And then they won't eat again for 3 days, but that's,
What resource, somebody mentioned When Helping Hurts, is that a good so one of our ministries at First Baptist Oklahoma City is Care for OKC, which is food, pantry, and a clothes closet. And we do it once a week, and we have working poor, we have homeless, we have people who are escaping domestic situations. And I'm trying to figure out a good resource as a part of our training for volunteers. But I've heard a lot of buzz about When Helping Hurts, but is there anything else that you guys would recommend?
it's a good
It's
starting
a
point.
good start.
It's not threatening. It's a good. You don't want to scare people away. If you turn them on to Toxic Charity, that book will what do you call it? Offend some people. But it gets down right to the roots of what people. I think it tells you more what you're doing wrong when you go out and do stuff than it tells you what you're doing right.
There was a book I read probably 15 years ago, and I don't remember the name of it. It was written by Dwayne Elmer, if I remember correctly. The main point of the book, though, is serve how the people need to be served, not what you think you know. Okay, so there's this whole analogy of the fish, or this monkey seeing this fish struggling upstream, and it helps the fish get out of the water because he thinks he's drowning. Don't be the monkey, help it. That's the gist of this really
I'll tell you-
expensive class. But find different analogies like that to help people understand. You may be trained, you may know what you're doing, but there's no way that I can go do what Dusty does with the homeless because I don't know that process. I don't have that relationship. So be willing to step out of your comfort zone and incorporate that in your training how you see fit.
We did a lot wrong to begin with.
Yeah.
It's
And
learning.
We do too.
As like the person in charge of it, don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's okay. People know you're there to help, and that's the important thing. I've been doing this for almost a year in my current role. Our ministry's been here for a while, but I'm making mistakes constantly. Thankfully, I have a great board that supports me and knows it's a learning process. It's okay to make mistakes, so long as you learn from your mistakes, right? So biggest encouragement is like, don't be the monkey.
So because of time, if there's no other questions, or you can stay afterwards and ask, but let's go ahead and close in prayer. I've been asked by Sarah, so let's pray. Father God, we thank you for this opportunity to listen and learn from one another, these great ministries that represent here your body at work. I ask that you would continue to equip each of us to be the hands and feet, to be the light, whatever we do, where we are. I also want to lift up George's daughter and the great tragic situation that she ran into with her friend, losing dear family members. And God, we just ask that you will just comfort her, and thank you for George to be able to help guide her in that time. Continue to work in that situation to help them find you in the process, to find healing. We thank you for each of these representatives here today. God, that you will guide them and protect them, direct them, and each of us that are here representing you, that let us be persons of peace, that we go from here and we will be the light in a dark world, to bring hope and help us to be those that can reconcile the world to you. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.